Hey you guys, Mr. Moon here. Making a quick video about multiplicative inverse, which is a fancy way of saying reciprocal, and additive inverse, which is a fancy way of saying opposite. Going to start with the additive inverse first. So let's take a look at a number line. We got a number line. We got 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. All right. So if we look at the number 1. 1 is 1 unit away from 0 in the positive direction. The opposite of that is going to be a number that is 1 unit away from 0 in the negative direction. So that means the additive inverse of 1 is -1. If we look at the number 2, it's 2 units away from 0 in the positive direction. -2 is 2 units away in the negative direction. So the additive inverse of 2 is -2. Now let's look at -3. -3 is 3 units away from 0 in the negative direction. So the additive inverse of -3 is going to be 3 units away from 0 in the positive direction. So the additive inverse of -3 is 3. Here's the simple way of knowing when you're looking at a number's opposite or additive inverse. If you add a number and its additive inverse, the result will be 0 every time. That's by definition. That's what additive inverse means. So 1 plus -1 is 0. So you know they are the additive inverses. They are the opposite of each other. 2 plus -2 is also 0. -3 plus 3 is 0. Don't confuse additive inverse with absolute value. Absolute value means how far is the number from 0. It does not mean the opposite. So the absolute value of -4 is 4. And yes, it is true that 4 is the additive inverse of -4, but that's not because of the absolute value. The absolute value of 4 is not -4. It is also 4 because it is 4 units away from 0. Absolute value will always be positive. This is a different concept from additive inverse. Additive inverse can be negative or positive. It depends on what number you're starting with. So here's an example. -12. The additive inverse of -12 is going to be a number that you can add to -12 so that the answer will be 0. And that's going to be 12. -12 plus 12. Here's one more. Let's look at 25. The additive inverse of 25 is going to be a number that when added to 25, the answer again is 0. And the additive inverse is, of course, going to be -25. So that's the concept of additive inverse.